All right, everybody, thank you for joining us again for, we're doing take two of a previous episode of Project Onward, Artists at Home. If you were lucky enough to tune in live a few weeks ago when we interviewed Jackie, then some of this will sound familiar to you, but unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, we weren't able to archive her segment on Instagram. So we're going to give it another shot. The format might look a little different to you right now because we're recording this over Zoom. There's less room for error with the Zoom software. Instagram can be kind of buggy sometimes, but Jackie was nice enough to join us again, and we're gonna go over all the topics we discussed previously, and maybe even discover some exciting new things to talk about. So without any further ado, let me again introduce Ms. Jacqueline Cousins Oliva. We just know
Hello.
her as Jackie. Hi, Jackie. How are you today?
Good.
Excellent. Thank you again so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. So I want to cover a lot of the stuff that we talked about last time. And of course, the best place to begin always is just kind of what got you interested in making art. Do you remember how old you were and what it was that kind of inspired you?
Um, I was like 6 years old when I started drawing, and I got my inspiration from my dad.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent. Was your dad an artist as well?
Yes,
What kind of
he
art did he make? He would draw?
yeah, he just do sketches.
Oh, fantastic. Wow, that's really great. I'm glad that you had someone so close to you that that really encouraged your art. That's really exciting. That always helps for sure. Um, you you have a really interesting, distinct style. You're one of those artists that does a great job of really creating their own universe and their own kind of cast of characters and these narrative stories. One thing, though, that I think you're also really well known for is just your sense of style and how much fashion you incorporate into your work. Can you tell us how fashion and style influence your work and what it is that you like so much about it?
Well, I what influenced my work is the fact I was a teenager and I look at 17 magazines and other teen that I look at, and what I like about fashion is the way the clothes get to the clothes look when you put them together.
Absolutely. You're a very fashionable person yourself. It's not just in your work, it's just in your everyday kind of wardrobe and your accessories. Some of them I got to point out this really fantastic picture of you on the Project Onward website. You're holding this really fabulous bag. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
This bag,
That's the one.
I got this for when I was working on a project for Urban Junket. I did a lot of models. I draw a lot of models and I draw their products and make them hold their person.
Fantastic.
Like
Uh,
do the do the artwork.
Excellent. Well, for those of you at home, please take some time to visit projectonward.org. You can see this picture, and you can also see many wonderful examples of her work. You're also really pretty active on Instagram and other social media platforms. You're Ziaco Cousins on Instagram, ZYACOCOUSINS.
Yes.
Go check her out on Instagram. So many wonderful examples of her work on there. And you have your own YouTube channel. Can you tell us about that?
On my YouTube, both my YouTube, I have two YouTube channels. One of them is to just show my artwork, and the other one is when I do reviews of television shows, movies, and wrestling.
Fantastic. That reminds me of Dijon, who we spoke to recently. He also is a huge fan of pop culture, consumes all types of different media, and also likes to share his opinion. And it's always really wonderful and really informative, particularly with movies. Now, you mentioned wrestling. Anyone who's familiar with your work has definitely noticed that this is a theme. Um, you're a huge fan of pro wrestling, as am I, and particularly the women of wrestling, who don't necessarily always get the credit that they deserve. Tell us a little bit more about women in wrestling and what it is that you admire so much about them. They're very powerful female figures. Is that part of the appeal for you?
They're like they inspired me because they were strong women, and that's how my mom taught me how to be. She wanted me to be a strong person. So of wrestling is part of my hobbies. I like to watch wrestling, and mostly women wrestling.
Mhm. That's great. Wow, both of your parents clearly big inspirations. Really set you on the right course. I think they'd both be proud. Um, can you tell us a little bit about some of the wrestlers that appear in your work? Who are some of your favorites?
Well, I have a lot of favorites. I don't have any favorites. I
Uh-huh.
just
You just kind of love them all equally, just whoever you're feeling at any given moment, huh?
yeah.
Cool. I'd like to talk about some of your other work. Some of your landscapes are really amazing. They're kind of these fantasy worlds. In fact, one of them that is for sale right now on projectonward.org is called Fantasy Land, and you've got lots of different. There are these scenarios where people, kind of small people, in these large uh, environments with big plants and animals and mushrooms and all kinds of things going on. What's the inspiration behind some of that work?
Well, I like to create a fun, relaxing, happy place for to rela- for people. Like a park where you can go out and take a walk or jog or whatnot.
That's great, but they all have this kind of dreamlike quality too. Is this kind of do you like to kind of daydream and imagine these really sort of fantastic places that are a little
Well,
larger than life?
absolutely, it's like a relaxing place. It's
Mm,
like a place to relax.
fantastic, great. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are lots of colors. It seems like a very positive, very happy environment. That definitely comes across. Definitely helps me feel relaxed for sure. Um, well, so much of this great work you've created during your time at Project Onward. Can you tell us a little bit about how you became involved with Project Onward?
Well, David Holt actually referenced me, recommend this place to me, and that's what made me interested in being a part of Project Onward.
Excellent. How did you know David?
Him and I were best friends from grammar school.
Oh, that's great. I love David. He's definitely one of the most talented artists there, and I definitely consider him a good friend as well. I'm glad he brought you on board. What year was that? Do you remember when it was you joined Project Onward?
2011.
2011. All right, great. So you've had a pretty good run there so far. What's been one of your favorite moments since you've been at Project Onward? Is there a particular project that you worked on, or some kind of show that you
Well,
got to be part of?
one of my favorite moments. Uh, one of my favorite moments is when I did a part with an urban junket and received a handbag as a gift.
Uh,
And when we all took field trips, I like field trips. I
hmm
like where we take field trips to see other artists.
Yeah, that's great. I know that's always one of the highlights of for many of the artists are the field trips. They definitely provide a lot of really amazing inspiration for your work. You mentioned getting to meet other artists. How about the other artists at Project Onward? Do you like working with them, and being around them and maybe getting some opinions or offering your own opinions?
Yes, I actually love that.
Good, good. Yeah, it's a really nice environment. You all seem to really help inspire each other all the time. What kind of advice would you have for other artists? Maybe not necessarily other members of Project Onward, but just anyone who's creating art, especially during this time while they may not be able to even leave the house.
I would say keep doing what you're doing the best you can, sell your artwork the best you can.
Hmm. Yeah, which is another important aspect of Project Onward. It doesn't only give you a place to create your art, but it also is somewhere to display and sell your art and actually kind of really establish yourself and make a living. And you've done an amazing job so far, Jackie. I think it's really, really incredible work. Um, we've gone over a lot of your background and a lot of your inspiration. Something a little more recent is your marriage. You were just married. You have a new husband, and I know that he appears in your work sometimes and is a source of great strength and inspiration. Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, he's a very kind person. He makes me very happy, and I'm happy to be with him.
That's excellent. Is he a big fan of your work?
Yes, he is. He loved art. He loved my artwork.
Good, good. I'm glad, from your parents to your husband, you've always had supportive people in your corner. That's really important. There are also some great pictures of you and your husband and your family on your Instagram. Just another reason why everyone should go check it out immediately. Um, Jackie, I'd like to know a little bit more about your process, what it's like for you when when you decide you want to start working on a piece. What kind of materials do you like to use, and what kind of environment do you like to be in when you're working on art?
I like to use markers, gel pens, diamonds, and sequins.
Mhm.
I like to use glitter glue as well.
That's excellent. Yeah, so lots of just very, very stylish, very colorful. That's definitely a running theme in your work. How about your Renaissance period pieces? Can you tell us about those? Because those, again, really highlight a lot of fashion, but it's fashion from a much different period of time. What is it that you find so interesting about the Renaissance period?
Well, well, Robin introduced me to Renaissance, and that's what got me inspired about the pieces. I like the fact that I like the designs that they wear on their dresses, and I like the details of the castle. I thought it was pretty cool.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree. I'm a big fan of that particular style of architecture myself. Uh, how about your portrait style? You do a lot of portraits, as most of the artists do at Project Onward. Um, can you tell us a little bit about what that process is like?
Um, yes, I've been doing portraits since college. I like to
Hmm.
do a lot of portraits. I like to maintain the style of the portraits.
Do you do portraits of people as well as pets?
Yes, I did. I did a lot of people, and then I started doing animals, which is
Uh,
very challenging for me.
I see. Well, hey, it's always nice to have a new challenge sometimes. It helps keep you growing as an artist. I'd like to know about your love for animation. I know that animation is a big influence on your work, and you also want to be an animator, isn't that right?
No, I like to do comic strips.
Comics,
That's
that's right, of course.
that's the most comic thing I like to do. I like
Right,
to do storyboards. I like to write stories.
right. Now, yeah, I mentioned earlier that you do have this kind of narrative style, and you got a lot of characters. Your comic strips um, are very story driven. I mean, there's a lot of really amazing visual aspects to it. But do you think that you kind of have the story in your mind first, and then you make the art to kind of go along with that, or do you start with the picture and then add the story later?
I usually start with the picture. and then
Uh-huh.
I write the stories as I go. That's how I write my comics.
That must be kind of exciting, and just kind of you just sort of stream of conscious, just kind of see where it's going to take you. You don't necessarily know when you begin.
Right.
That's awesome. I think that's probably a really fun, exciting way to do it, and it helps keep you creative. Um, can you tell us a little bit more about what it's been like for you during the pandemic? Have you been stuck at home? Have you been going to work? What's a normal day like for you since the coronavirus?
Well, it's been miserable for me. I couldn't, like I said earlier, I couldn't go outside. I couldn't go to the gym, but I do have a day job. I go to, I go to work 2 day. I now go to work 3 times a week. I
Hmm.
used to go to work like 2 times a day.
I see. Do you look forward to getting out of the house and going to work, or is it kind of scary out there?
Well, I'll be looking for it's scary, but I'll be looking forward to going out and do something.
Right. Well, good. Well, I'm glad you still have something to keep you busy. Do you still have time to work on your art? Do you find that you've still been able to find the motivation and the inspiration to make art at home?
Yes, that's absolutely yes.
Great. Well, can we see some of the stuff you've been working on? It looks like you're in your studio right now. I see some stuff hanging on the walls. Show us what you've been up to.
Well, here's some of the stuff I've been working on. This is like a commission for somebody that's opened up a barber shop,
Whoa.
and then and this is what I'm working on right now.
Uh-huh.
This is like a path of cats. My
Wow.
mom, remember I told you my mom told me that it was bad luck to cross the path with cats, and this is like the path of cats.
Wow. Now, is that woman going to walk down that path, or it looks like she's maybe not so sure if she wants to go that way?
Actually, she knows it's bad luck. She better not do it.
Uh-huh. Wow. Now, this barbershop piece, is that something that they're going to hang in their window?
Yes, absolutely.
That's so cool. Wow. Can you just kind of go around the room and show us, just kind of give us a better idea of the space that you're in? It looks like you got some nice light in there. You got a lot of your art hanging on the wall. Wow, that looks really cool.
This is my space.
Oh, that's fantastic. Looks like you're maybe are you on the top floor in the attic?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. That's great. That looks like a really comfortable environment to be working in. I'm glad you've got a space like that at home, but I'll bet you can't wait to get back into Project Onward.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I mentioned, of course, your Instagram handle, and these universes that you create and these characters, and that leads me to my next question, which is about Princess Ziyako. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes.
Can you tell us about Princess Ziyako? What's the story there?
Well, she's a witch, but she's not an evil person. She has superpowers, and she help people.
Hmm. Excellent. Is there any backstory there? Has she always been a witch? Has she always had these powers?
Yes, she has. She was killed,
Uh-huh.
and she was killed and murdered and dumped in a field as a child, and she was brought back to life by
Wow.
a by a purple seed, and it gives her superpowers.
Whoa. That's quite a tale. That's fantastic though, that even after experiencing that kind of tragedy, that she came back and decided to use her powers for good. I think that's really pretty inspirational, and definitely one of the amazing um, kind of fantastic otherworldly stories that are so common in your work. That's really, really fantastic, Jackie. Well, we really kind of cruised through this interview this time, since we'd already gotten to know each other so well last time, and I already kind of had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to know and what I wanted to ask you about. But is there anything else that you'd like to add? Anything else you want to discuss?
I believe that's it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Jackie, thanks you again so much for joining us and for agreeing to give this another shot. This one we'll be able to save and share with everyone, and I can't wait for more people to get familiar with your work, because there's a lot of really amazing stuff. And go to projectonward.org, buy some of her work, buy some merch, including masks. We're going back out there into the world, and we need to make sure that we're being careful and we're doing our best to keep that curve nice and flat. Go to Jacqueline Cousins on Instagram, and just check out some images from Jackie's life and some of her work, and support her and all of the other wonderful artists during this really difficult time. Jackie, thanks again. We'll see you back at the studio real soon, okay?
All right.
All right, goodbye.